What makes a piece of architecture different? I mean, what makes this work different? Well, so if you're gonna make a structure that is about some concept, like say this one is about
a series of piers that are part of a shell system that defines space, much like a ruin would.
and the floating planes that allow light to come through. Okay, we have to make a structure that is piers and floating planes. So the way the roof plane attaches to these piers has to look like it's floating or have a concept that's about floating. So this is not a, a standard stamped out structure, but this is creating a structure from a concept. So if you're going to make a piece of architecture, so you have to understand how to make something structural out of a concept, out of an idea. Okay, this other project, here's the concept. You have these two walls, an east and a west wall, and then you have a plane sort of slipped in between those two walls. In other words, you got a north and a south plane vertically and a floor. So it's sort of like a U shape with a floor and an east and a west wall, right? Okay, so that's going to block our east and west sun and leave a north and the south completely open. So the roof plane is this, it's sort of a wing shape, and it slips between this east and west plane so that it creates an overhang on the south that's like 9 feet, and then on the north like 3 feet. And what that does is create a light quality, like a light setting, right? And then from there, you can access the space that's to the south. So that whole edge can disappear and become part of that outdoor space that is a room, basically, edged on the north and the east by structure, the house and the addition. And then the south, you have a property fence with a lot of dense vegetation. Then to the west, you've got giant oak trees. So what happens is now you've made a room that is an extension of this addition, because it's a U-shape, so you have east and west edges. You don't really have a south edge. You have sort of a north edge that's basically a filter, because it's glass all around the edges, and it's got a sort of screens zone made out of bookshelves, sort of suspended, floating in the middle of the glass wall, and that blocks the views to the north neighbor. So that's creating a structure that is inherently based on the concept. So this concept of an east-west opaque wall with a floating roof plane to create a space that's integral with the existing house, an outdoor space that borders the new space and the existing space. Okay, that's what we're trying to do. That's the space we want to make. So now we need a structure that is, to its core, based on that idea. And you can't just use a box to do that, because it won't work. You can't just follow the code and put up your 4 shear walls and punch whatever openings, and it's not going to feel like we said. It won't feel like that concept. You won't feel it. So that is where architecture grows from. And it's really not just architect. It's about design, right? So, okay, here's another project. Or the concept here is there's some basic requirement. Okay, it's a pool table. It has to be a pool table, a poker table, ping pong table, and maybe one other thing. I can't remember. Pool, ping pong, poker, I think that's it. Anyway, so they're different heights, so we need to move the table up and down, right? Well, okay, so how do you make the table? Well, there's a lot of ways you can make the table move. So what do we draw from? Well, the owner likes clocks and gears. He's enamored with gears and clocks and watches. Okay, so how about that? Let's make this thing move with a series of gears. So much like a watch. So we come up with an idea. Let's create a structure from nothing that can use a set of gears now to move the top up and down. So we've got 4 corners. We can use the 4 corners. It's very basic and stable. So now we need a way to turn something simultaneously in all 4 corners. Now there's another issue. Another concept is that the company is called Hurricane Billiards, and it's got the logo is sort of these. Imagine a hurricane symbol, like the eye of a hurricane that you see on the news or whatever. Okay. So it's kind of like these 2 knife blades that are sort of splaying out from the center. So that gets incorporated into this. We use these 2 long sliding gears that use that shape in a way that makes it meets the criteria, right? So there are these long sliding rack gears that end up turning 2 gears in 2 different legs simultaneously. You got one on one side, one on the other side, and then we can splay them because they have to go in different directions. So now we have this Hurricane Billiards symbol embedded right in the structure and the operation of the thing we're making. So if it were a building, it could be the same thing. You integrate the concept, the theory, something about the owner, and its function all into one composition that doesn't have a preconceived structural basis or system or anything. You create the system out of those parameters. Those are the parameters that generate the soul of the design.